I would hereby open up the floor to questions or comments from both the public and, well, if council has anything of that matter, obviously we'll speak later as well. So I would hereby open it up. If you would, please, if you stand, or if you wish to address, please stand, state your name and address.
Jeff Welch, North Columbia Street. Okay. We got budgets we got to follow in our household. Okay, when this all started, was you within the budget for the city doing the work?
I'm sorry?
Are you going to listen to us?
Yeah. You said, are we within the budget?
Yeah, since you're raising rates, you know, that's going to affect my budget and my household.
Yeah, it affects
And
mine too.
We're on fixed incomes, a lot of us in this town.
I agree.
And plus, we just got our property tax increase.
Mm-hmm.
Half of us, we might run us out of town because we can't stay no more. And did the ethanol contribute any money?
They have not yet. That's got to be part of
And
our.
I'd say screw them then.
Well,
That ain't funny.
Yeah.
Well, you got to realize, I
By the
appreciate.
way, my name is Pat.
Hold on a
Ross.
second, please.
I just
Let me
want to make
finish.
sure that you know who I am if I talk.
Oh, well, I appreciate that. I want to address Jeff. I appreciate the passion because, trust me, it's been frustrating for me right now too because we've been in discussions with them and we have another meeting set up May 22nd. It's a tough predicament we're in because we've had the clamor for jobs for a long time and Cardinal Ethanol employees, local folks, and they contribute to the local economy. And this is for growth for them. And they also are our number one customer from a budget standpoint, from what they pay. However, on the other side of the coin, we have a responsibility to you guys and us, because we're citizens too. And in my last water bill, my current water bill is $162.63. And I brought it up here in case anybody's wondering, but which I don't enjoy paying. And so again, our first priority is to everyone in this room and in this community. So do we draw a hard line and take the stance of go on about your day with the industry and stay as we are, or do we consider something else that entertains the notion for growth? And I'm not saying there's an easy answer, and I'm not saying there's a right or wrong answer. But we found in life is oftentimes you can't have both. In a perfect world, rates would stay there as they are or go down, and companies would come in without us having to lift a finger. But unfortunately, that's not what we've observed, over decades now. And so at some point in time, we've got to decide: are we going to make some hard decisions and do what we can to entertain potential growth and development, or do we stay as we are? But if we stay as we are, we have to accept the fact that we're staying as we are. We can't have any more complaints about jobs or lack of income or stuff like that because we've decided to travel that road. And that may be okay for some folks. It may be. The tough thing about it is, though, it's a you know what if you do and you know what if you don't, for the lack of, for not swearing.
So are you saying that if we don't do this, they're going to close the ethanol plant?
They're not going to close, but we wouldn't be able to provide them the capacity they need for their next growth expansion.
Do we make a profit off of them?
We don't make a profit off of them as a city. Now, define profit, though, because if you're talking jobs and if you're talking local commerce and you're talking folks that are coming in and out of town because of Cardinal Ethanol and they spend money around here, then there's something to be said for that. But it would depend on how one would define profit.
Well, it's like the solar panels are supposed to pay for themselves, but part of this that I heard you speak of was going toward solar panels to help pay that bill. Plus all the raises has been going out over the board, and plus all these new vehicles everybody's been buying.
Well, and those are separate buckets.
Are they?
Yeah, those are separate buckets. This is strictly for water.
Well, now I
So-
heard you say that part of this was for solar panels in the last meeting.
I didn't say that.
Somebody did up
Okay,
here, so
but
I heard it.
okay, I don't discount that, but I did not say that.
Well,
I
is it
appreciate
true
that.
or not?
That was as part of what the obligations were of the water department, was paying
Right.
for
For the solar equipment lease.
solar equipment lease.
That part of this raise is going
Would-
towards that.
That's a very small portion, though, isn't it? So, what is the portion you think that goes toward?
Well, so the water, for the solar equipment lease, their amount is $221,500. Of the lease, I think it's 650,000 maybe total for the city. But only the water portion is the 221,000.
Okay, so a little less than a third, or roughly a third
Yeah.
of the
And it was
cost.
broken down based on where those solar panels were placed throughout the city. So the
So
part that was placed on the water treatment plant, that was their allocation.
if the solar panels start making money, then will our bills start coming down?
They already have started. The meters have actually gone in reverse, according to Brad at the.
But does
water
that
facility
go
plant.
back to the citizens of Union City?
Well, indirectly, it helps control cost. Now, in terms of rate lowering, it wouldn't be substantial. If we did this just for that alone, the rates would be so nominal, I could promise you guys you wouldn't be sitting here. We're sitting here because of the exponential cost of the South Main Water Loop and the extension to Cardinal. That's why we're sitting here.
And we did factor in the reduction in purchase power cost from those solar panels in the rate analysis.
Yes, Bob.
Bob Gentry.
Bob, sorry.
521 North Plum Street. Does this include new filters at the south plant?
Yes.
And what about the north plant?
I'd have to check on the north. I know it's for the south.
Well,
North also.
several
North
years
also.
ago,
North
we
and
were
south.
worried about the filters on the south plant.
Right.
They damn well better be replaced or we're all in
It's
trouble.
actually,
Yeah, it's
it's actually
both.
replaced and expanded
On the south end,
on the
and
south end.
but just replacing on the north.
Just replacing on the north.
So it's expansion and replacement on the south, just replacing on the north, the filters.
Yeah.
But it will be expanded on the
Yes.
south.
Then, yes, correct.
And this also includes how many new wells?
Two. Is that right?
Yeah, I believe it's 2 new wells.
Yeah, and that's not just drilling a well.
Right.
That's a big pump and a lot of piping. and a
Correct.
building.
And
You
it's,
hear around the state about the water shortages there is for different places. So are our water lines up good enough, we can do all this?
we have the largest aquifer in the region that we're sitting
Hasn't
on.
been checked lately, as far as what it's holding, if it's
That was
keeping
my
up.
next question.
What has been checked?
Have
Yeah.
we checked that aquifer? Because I've asked about it 2 or 3 times and Brad hadn't checked it a year ago.
Mhm.
But that's,
They did do a pump test, but I don't.
let's face it, we can't live without water.
Yeah, yeah.
If we don't
yeah.
have a good water supply, ain't none of us gonna live here.
Yeah,
That's
so,
This, I don't like paying more either, but I don't have much choice. But I am concerned about this infrastructure.
mhm.
That if we don't do something, well, Tim, you were on the board of work same time I was, and we were worried about those filters then, and Brad was practically jumping through hoops trying to keep them going, because they're 25, 30 years old.
Yeah, they're at the end of
And these
life.
things have a lifespan.
I do know, well, anything that would be either approved or not approved tonight, this is still merely a step in a long process, because I know they've got, for the well drilling, we've got to make sure, to Bob's point, we do have water supply on this side, because the discussion has also been accessing wells on the Ohio side if we need to. So we just need to make sure we do the right thing in terms of where we pitch our tent, so to speak, with the well.
And their bills will go up over there also?
They will. They're going to be due for there's going to open another can of worms, and I know, but I'm going to say it out loud. Their contract is up in 2 years, so their rates will go up in 2 years, and it'll go up exponentially.
So you can change ours now, but not theirs for
So-
2 years?
But we've raised theirs when we haven't raised ours also.
Yeah. They've had a rate increase since we've had a rate increase on the I side.
That, something don't make
But
sense. If we're gonna get a raise right now,
I
then you guys can change this. Why can't you change the high side?
Well, that's a contract that we have with them. So when we would redo the contract in 2 years, that's when we would adjust for the rate increase
So you got a contract with the high side to get our water.
to sell water to them. Correct.
And so their rates are gonna be lower right now than what ours are?
Most likely, for a spell, not indefinitely. So
But we're also selling them basically water wholesale, or I'm not sure if they're when we sell them the water, that's not the end bill. We sell them just water. They're in charge of maintaining their system. So then their end bill is more similar to, I don't
Who
know how it
pays
is
their
exactly.
employees?
They do.
All the city people are paid by the town of Union City, Ohio?
Yeah,
correct.
Is that why they just voted to give them a raise over there up here at this council meeting for the police departments? And
We didn't vote. We didn't give. I mean,
They're just our own personnel.
just our own personnel.
We
that had
can't.
nothing to do with, well, the
No.
chief of police was up here talking about getting raises for his people over there.
Yeah. Well, that's only things that can be approved by them. That's strictly. There is a solid line between Ohio and Indiana when it comes to who's employed by who. That's never changed.
So we don't pay for their police enforcement
No.
on Union City,
Why
Ohio?
was they up here hammering you guys about raises then?
That was the Indiana side to be commensurate with what they're paid on that side.
So he's the chief of police on the Indiana side too?
He's a public safety director over Union City.
On both.
And you got a contract for that too?
Correct. But if you don't mind, let's keep questions related to the water.
Well, that's
Public hearing.
related to it. If
Because it says on here salaries come out of the
the
water.
water
Just-
bill.
just
Now,
water-
if that
just
ain't got
water
something to
department.
do with it, then
Well, I appreciate that. But yeah, this is anything connected to this hearing is strictly Union City, Indiana water capacity and function and billing. That's strictly what it is. It has nothing to do with any adjoining area. This is strictly for infrastructure for Union City, Indiana. But Ohio obviously is a customer, just like Cardinal. Cardinal's not in Union City. Cardinal is not in Union City, but they're a
does
customer.
Does Union City doesn't make no profit off of the ethanol plant?
Well,
If I
Go
may,
ahead.
okay, it's not profit like a business makes profit, but it pays the operating costs and it pays the how, everything about the water water unit utility.
But it has subsidized overall costs for Union City.
Correct.
Because we've
Correct.
we created one of the things we created the water tower fund with primarily because
Correct.
of the fact that we had the extra revenue from Cardinal.
And so all those operating expenses, like if we were to, for that, spend more than we receive from our customers, like we would be in the red. And so what they pay helps to bring us to the black, to have a reserves that are beyond like the actual.
And this money goes where?
It's right here in Union City.
Right back into our water fund.
And the water fund has to do with the employees in Union City, right?
For the water employees. Yeah, just water employees.
Is that what goes to paint the water towers and stuff like that?
Correct.
Yes.
Anything connected to water.
The water department is a separate entity. The wastewater is a completely separate entity. So that's why we go through this whole exercise when we talk about wastewater, and that's why your bills spec'd out water and wastewater. They're two completely separate funds. Amy, the fine lady at the end of here, has the task of being able to keep all this separated, keep it separated from general tax funds, because they come in as separate funds and have to be. We can't spend general fund money on water department things. We can't subsidize general fund with the water department. Now, yes, there are some intermingling of work where sometimes a little bit of time is here and there, but for the moment, but we don't. One department's not subsidizing another, and so it's not intermingled funds. So that's why this is strictly about the water service alone.
So a unit of water, it's still 750 gallons? One consumption of water, 750 gallons, anybody?
That sounds right.
Is that correct, Amy? I think that's right.
That sounds-
I know you're talking everything in 4,000 gallons here, but a unit of water, from what I understand, in one consumption, is 750 gallons,
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah, meaning,
I think that's right. I mean, I'm telling you.
Yes. That's
Was that on that one page?
but I mean, what, I don't understand, what's your question in terms of the unit?
Well, as far as, once you go over that 750, like I said, I use a consumption sometimes too. And you figure everything, like I see on here, 4,000 gallon, this and that, or cubic feet, or whatever you wanna call it.
Okay,
But like I say, units, and so when it goes to the wastewater part, I know that's not part of the water part, but if you use over 750, how's that next 750 cost you as far as wastewater goes? Do you go by the gallons over, or you go for the full 750 to figure wastewater? Say if I use 800 gallon instead of 1,500 gallon,
Right.
is my wastewater figured on 800 gallon or 1,500 gallon?
1,500, right.
1,500.
I don't want to
Am I
answer that.
paying treatment for water I'm not using?
Right. No, you shouldn't be, but I don't want to answer. I don't want to answer definitively without having
Well, that's a
100%
question
assurance.
I'd like to answer on.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know specifically for Union City, but I know
Shouldn't be.
typically a lot of cities, the water meter is what the sewer bill is based off of. So if your water meter was 800 gallons, your sewer bill is going to be based on 800 gallons.
Yeah.
Proportionate to
Yeah.
the.
But on my bill, it just comes up either one consumption or two,
Okay.
and it should be on your bill as far as consumption goes up at the
Yeah.
top on how many units
Yeah.
or consumptions you use.
the only way you're going to pay for something you technically didn't get is if you're below the minimum. There's a minimum set, there's a minimum billing, and if you use,
750.
For water, it's 300
300,
cubic
yeah,
feet.
Well, see, that's cubic feet.
Yeah.
I go by gallons.
yeah.
Is that 750 gallons, 300 cubic feet?
I can do the math.
My consumption was 10. That's all I know. You said yours is 1.
Yeah.
You want to trade houses?
It's just me down there.
Okay.
Gary's got it.
Yeah,
It's
one
just
unit
me.
is 100 cubic feet, and one unit is 100 cubic feet, and 100 cubic feet is approximately 748 gallons.
That's what I was thinking. So.
Okay, now somebody's trying to tell me 300 cubic feet was 750 gallon the other day.
No. 100 cubic feet is approximately 748 gallons, and that's one unit. So that's how one unit's 100 cubic feet, 2 units 200 cubic feet,
So-
and so on.
So your wastewater then for that 10 consumption, if I can ask, how much
Yeah,
is?
$94.74.
So it's prorated then as it goes
Yeah,
above
it
750.
follows.
Because my water charge is $48.87.
Yeah, it's a lowering bracket structure, so as you use more, the rate goes down.
Yeah.
The rate per cubic foot.
So you're saying that if I did only use 800 gallon of water, I'm not getting billed for
No.
1,500
Right.
wastewater?
No.
Right.
I didn't think it was fun to me.
Sorry.
Well, we all know this town is a depressed town. It ain't like we got the industry we had 25 years ago when we had Scheller Bug, Union City Body Company, the
Westinghouse.
Westinghouse, the cabinet factory, and everything else. So anytime you start raising rates, we're going to pay the piper.
Yeah.
And if the ethanol plant wants more water, then they ought to have to pay for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
And
there's
we'll
a,
add, we did include a surcharge
Yeah,
for
I'd say there's a significant
ethanol's
surcharge.
increased capacity,
Right.
so they're
What you-
paying
your water, what
more
you
than the
use
increase
differently.
that all other customers are
Are they paying for, they
There's a-
dig the water lines and everything for the bigger pipes?
They're paying through their
Because I
rate
think my water
charges,
charge
they're
is
paying an
$1
increased
like
rate, like so where everyone else's rate is going up 53%, theirs is going up
$20.
almost
Okay.
100%.
Okay.
$20.
So their
So
rate
that's
is going
actually-
up almost double all
and
other users.
which is part of which
Yeah.
basically makes up for whether they invest or not
Right,
in this
yes, so
upfront.
we added that into the rate ordinance in case they would not contribute to the
Yeah.
project, to be able to make them still pay for it, yes, yeah.
Well, I'm kind of disappointed not seeing very many people up here after hearing what everybody's been saying on Facebook.
Not me.
All right.
I ain't got a phone.
I just hear what people say, and it's just kind of.
Well, if you want the honest to God truth, this is coming from Chad the citizen, not Chad the mayor. That's part of what we're fighting, the problem we're fighting right now in this town. I'll be honest with you.
Facebook?
No, people's attitude.
Oh,
I sat in a
Well-
meeting, and Mara probably knows this well because she's an attorney, but under her name, and I'm sorry I'm calling you out right now, but she's got like 5 different organizations she's a part of to help out with in Muncie. And I say that because this community, like right now, I got someone breathing down my neck about the shelter house out the park that's half there because the roof was torn off, the one up on the hill.
oh, the pavilion.
Yes. Well, and I apologize, sir. You said your name earlier, but I missed it.
Me?
Yes.
John Rudd.
John, thank you, John. Yeah, and John
It's
talked about.
actually Pat. but-
Oh, I'm sorry, Pat.
Yeah,
Sorry.
you said that.
Okay.
Every day he says they call me Rat.
I'll call you Pat.
Alias.
I'll call you Pat if that's all right. Pat mentioned about the companies we had in town.
If I give you 3 different names,
You
then
just call me Bill.
you're not going to chew me out.
There's a routine in here
I'm
somewhere.
going to get a 3rd instead of.
But anyway,
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
no, you're good. The shelter out the park. A lot of people don't realize they want the city to take care. Want the city to fix it.
Yeah.
That was paid for and created by the body company. It's paid for by the body company.
My uncle
And-
built it.
Amen. Who's your uncle?
Joe Middle.
Okay, my uncle Cloy Smith, great uncle Cloy Smith, was also helped out
Yeah.
with that. Yeah. So I mean, that's how a lot of great things happen. But it was people being involved. The story of that was the guy that wanted to see it happen swung by, picked up Tom Kern's dad, Roger, and said, "We're going to Michigan. I want to show you something." They didn't get paid to do that. They didn't have Facebook to complain about how there was nothing out there to be a part of. They just went out and did it. Thank you. They went out and did it. Well, the other night we had a meeting, and I'm going to let this cat out of the bag right now. We had a meeting the other night, Larry and Ian Ansel, Community Christmas, and they said, "I think this needs to be our last year for Community Christmas." And it's because they're exhausted.
I bet.
And Shelly's exhausted. Shelly handles Facebook. Shelly King on her own dime. None of us we're all volunteers. And it's tough because it would be sad to see that go away. But again, it's because there's not people stepping up. If people don't step up, and it's the same conversation I remember hearing about the fire, the thing about firemen. You know, people quit going out to be firemen. At some point in time, inevitably, the bell will ring and no one's going to be there. No one's going to answer the call. And it's heartbreaking as a citizen because I've been here 51 years now in this community. It's all I've known. And I've seen the same changes everyone else has. I've had the same discussions at the dinner table as everyone else has with my family. I remember growing up and I go, "Oh, the body company's laid off today," you know, or you know, heard Scheller's leaving town, you know. And we've all ridden that same roller coaster. And it's painful.
Well, what's really painful when you work at the body company and when you retire, you don't get no pension.
Amen. Amen.
So it
I
ain't like
agree.
we all don't know what's going on.
I agree. It's painful as
We've all
can be.
been there.
And so again,
Now, can I ask you a question?
yeah, absolutely.
even though this ain't got nothing to do, well, it might have something to do with the water, I don't know. Cutting your own expenses, have you looked at any of that to help the water bills and whatever in Union City?
I mean, our own personal expenses.
Well, anything in the city, have you looked at to cut any rates or anything, or?
On to help like offset
Yeah,
costs.
I mean, if you ran a factory out here and you was running in red, you'd look for ways to
Start laying people
Yeah,
off.
absolutely.
cut and whatever.
Yeah. Well, the answer to that, which is not a popular one, is we've collaborated with the Ohio side. So we can rely less on, we can do more with less equipment. We can have less burden of personnel on filling spots, that are needed to fill shifts. We've tried going down that road already, and we'll continue to go down that road. And as Tim mentioned too, the conversation when we were talking before the hearing started, the conversation with Cardinal's not over.
I would hope not.
No, yeah.
Are you going to go out there and negotiate and make them pay more?
We
or
have
what's the
been.
deal?
We have been. We've met, and we're going to meet again May 22nd.
Because that's
Yeah. So that's not done. And so if the proposed rate is based on no contribution from them. So contribution from them would help lower the burden for the community. In which case then we could have another hearing to actually lower rates.
right.
So
Well, I was just wondering if you guys was looking on ways to cut back.
yeah.
Because I see, now this is on the internet. They talk about, we don't need no city manager. Winchester doesn't have a city manager. We got less people in Union City than Winchester's got, and we got a city manager. Why couldn't they combine both of them and you can step up to the plate?
They pay him a little bit more over there to do it.
I don't get paid enough to step up to the plate. Well, I'll put it this way. Here's the other thing to consider, though. City manager was created. That position was created back by Mayor DeHaven back in early '90s.
No, late. No, it was.
Well, I know Monty Poling had it. I don't know anybody behind that.
After
but-
2000.
Okay, 2000 somewhere else.
2001 or 2. Phil took office in 2000.
Okay, there you go. So I mean that position itself, the mayor role it's not. It is and it's not considered a full-time role in this community. It's not paid the same as it is in Winchester. It's basically half the salary of what Winchester's is. But yes, we have a city manager. But on the flip side of the coin is, hopefully you guys have noticed some changes in the community over the last several years
Like
in
Roots?
terms of improvement. No, like dilapidated buildings. Do you remember the old city building that sat down here?
How much money have we given Roots? You all know that. You're the mayor.
Yeah, I know. They owe us $10,000. We've talked about that. We've been down that road. But again, let's stick to the water conversation.
Well, I'm just looking at ways to cut.
No, I agree.
And if you're ever giving all the money to the uptown, don't forget about your citizens because they're the majority.
I agree. And you know what I heard when I went door to door? When I ran
I never
back in
seen you at
2020?
my door, but go
I
ahead.
left you something behind. You should have a paper. When I went door to door, what do you think was the most concerns that was expressed to me, and was a big reason why I sent out what I sent out back in 2019? What do you think it was?
I have no idea.
Downtown.
Downtown and nowhere to eat. Those are the two biggest complaints.
Why do you need to have somewhere to eat when there's no manufacturing or anything in this town? I mean,
Well,
seriously.
Well, and so now the conversation is coming full circle.
By the way, this was Gene Russ,
Oh, okay, thank you, Gene.
not Pat or.
And I don't know if the question might have been answered, but how much do you guys make off of the ethanol plant?
None.
Water rights? Nothing.
We do. They're our biggest customer. We make more off of them than we do anybody by far. It's not but the word profit keeps being used. It's not. That's to cover our costs. That's to help us with our infrastructure and to the daily maintenance that goes on with the waterworks.
So do you make a profit off of me?
No, we don't make a profit off of
City
you.
doesn't
Water
make a
utility
profit
can't
off
make a
anything.
profit.
Yeah, water utilities can't make profits.
Okay.
The
Water is
customers
just
pay,
water, right?
it's the operating fund. So
Yeah.
the money that customers pay helps for the operations, the salaries of the people who run the water utility, repairs, all of that. And then the law requires us to have a little extra.
Right.
Well, I got a question.
I know that, nope, I'm not done. Is some of this because of what's going on in Washington DC and they've cut subsidies and stuff or anything? Nothing to do with that, okay?
Correct.
Then why is our water bills going up like 68%?
It's because of the infrastructure we're trying to put in at the industrial park and the South Main water loop.
So we're paying for that.
Yes.
But you just said you don't make a profit off of it. If you're paying for that out of our water bills,
I'm sorry, I'm not following.
you just said that's because of the structures we're trying to make out of the industrial park and stuff.
To provide the infrastructure needed, and that's why I said the conversation's come full circle. We as a city are responsible for infrastructure for the community, both citizen and industry. If we don't have that, we won't by nature have eventually citizen or industry. And to be able to expand out the industrial park, this if not now, at some point is going to have to happen. Or, like I said earlier, we're just going to have to be content with not having anything. And if that's what everybody wants to be content with, that's fine. If that's the bed you want to make and sleep in it, that's the bed we'll make and sleep in. But if you see, it's the 500-pound man who complains about losing weight and won't put the Twinkie down.
Now,
That's
watch
what it is.
I like Twinkies.
I do too. I love Twinkies. But if, in all fairness, if I gain 400 pounds on a Twinkie diet, I can't look at anybody else but myself.
Right.
So what your intention is out of the industrial park is you're going to have more manufacturing, is what you're saying.
Yes,
Who might that be?
Road Tech on the Ohio side, but we supply water. So again, we're talking water capacity. So they would be a water customer. Workhorse has, believe it or not, I know this is a tough conversation to have, but they do have plans for expansion at some point once the EV market solidifies for the last mile delivery van.
How much have we helped them out with stuff?
Nothing. That's,
There's
yeah.
nobody working out there now.
There's
No taxes,
30,
no
25 to 30 folks are out there.
You know, that's
So,
another place we dumped us out in the street.
We have Union Tube out there that we have responsibility to. And granted, we don't even have the proper hydrant pressure right now out there to the existing customers. So being Union Tube, being Workhorse, and being Progressive, is that Progress Manufacturing. So there's three.
Well, but one of the things that we have with this is that there's a significant amount of land to be developed that the county has that falls within our range, that until there's infrastructure, water, sewer, roads, it's pretty much not developable. No, they can't get any real development moving until there's that. So we have this element. The county will do significant road funding, if I understand correctly. That would, so by bringing that infrastructure to that area, that's going to make that area, which would be north of Workhorse, south to the railroad, just roughly over to 700 in that area. And that's not been developed. The county's had that land for,
Number of years.
a couple of decades maybe,
Yeah.
that they can't really develop because there's not infrastructure there. And this is this brings infrastructure to that area that then can be developed with a road and so forth. And there wasn't any use putting a road out there if there wasn't any other infrastructure there.
So the county is going to help pay for some of that out there,
Well, it's
They're going to have to pay for the road.
they're going to have to
They're going to have to help us with the road.
Yeah,
but nothing else.
but
As
Maybe.
maybe, yeah.
Do
So,
they do they contribute to the ethanol plant, the county?
that is TIF. So indirectly, yes.
yes,
That is TIF. So what that means, tax increment financing. So any improvement, there's a base level tax that the county pulls from them. But any improvements they make in this defined area, which is called a TIF district, which Cardinal has, any improvements they make, any taxation on those improvements goes right back to the district. So in essence, it goes right back to Cardinal. Now the stipulation is Cardinal has to reinvest those funds back in that district. They just can't put it in people's pockets or spend it willy-nilly. They've got to put it in infrastructure. So that
So this TIF, does that help this water line that they're wanting to put in?
it could if they would dedicate funds from that toward this.
What- When you negotiate, won't you tell them you're going to have to?
I'm taking you guys with me when I go out there.
I used to negotiate with the body company. I don't care. If you want to take me, I'll go.
I have a question.
I'm sorry, your name?
Why are we voting this evening when you have a meeting on the 22nd? Why are you voting to raise our water bills when you need to go there and negotiate on the 22nd?
I'm sorry, your name and
Amy North Howard, you know who I am.
okay. Well,
But
I know
yes,
you have to announce it.
Why would you do that? Why would you go have a meeting after you're raising our water bills?
Those are two separate things. That's a bond
No,
ordinance.
it's not.
That's
They are not paying for 1 million gallons of water.
Would you like to address it, Mara? It's for the bond ordinance, correct?
Well, tonight, all they're considering is the rate ordinance, but if there is a timeline that then triggers the bond ordinance to pay for the project.
So
Shouldn't we be having that meeting first before you decide to do any kind of rate increase, any kind of anything to do with our water bills? Shouldn't you be having a discussion with them,
with
with the Cardinal?
we have been. It's been
More
ongoing.
discussion
When
instead
we-
of coming after us citizens that can't afford,
We-
because you will run a ton of people out of this town. We are, what, poverty, basically, down in the poverty
Depressed.
line? Yeah,
Depressed.
pretty much. We're a farming community. Why in the world would you not go after the bigger corporations that are definitely putting the money in their pockets?
We
But
are.
you're coming after us. That should not be happening.
We are not coming after because we're in line for this too. We have to pay higher rates too.
I know what I pay compared to the Ohio side, and they have five people in their family, they're paying $60 a month. How is that? When there's 2 of us in my family, and I'm paying well over that. How can that be? That should not be happening. Ohio is not paying what they should be paying. They're buying water off of us.
Correct.
That's our water department. I get there's a bunch of Ohio people now on this council and such, but that's not how it should be. Missinawall, let me put it that way. Missinawall people, you went to Missinawall, Steve went to Missinawall. We get that you guys favor Ohio side,
That's
It is the
unfounded.
truth.
That is not the truth. That's completely unfounded.
but
and
it's
fair.
not, it's not fair. You guys are coming after the citizens. We do have a lot of elderly, we have a lot of veterans. How dare you not go towards these bigger companies and say, hey, you need to pay your fair share?
We-
1 million gallons?
We are
I
not.
see what I'm paying compared to what my daughter has, a size of a family of 5 in Muncie. And it's ridiculous. I should not be paying what I'm paying already. And now you want to raise my bill again? You're running everybody out.
Well, I'd like to know who negotiated the contract for the Ohio side because they failed, whoever did.
Yes, yes, yes.
And if you want my assistance, I'll help you on that.
The primary discrepancy on the Ohio side is the wastewater. The water, I can't speak to exactly what their water charges are, but I don't think the water charges are dramatically different than ours at all.
It shouldn't be.
The wastewater is night and day because they
That's
have
the difference.
a completely rudimentary. If you had their wastewater plant in Indiana, we'd all been shut down years ago. I mean, they would absolutely not even. IDEM wouldn't even begin to let you operate. They'd have shut this down and taken over. But that's one of our primary things is our wastewater cost is tremendous. And Indiana Department of Environmental Management, it's every time I talk to Rob Myers, our operator, it's the new thing that they've thrown at them again this week. I mean, they're just constantly throwing new things to test, new criteria to meet. It's dizzying how much that's changed.
That's the reason why they were trying to get the surface water out of the
Right.
plant
Yeah,
out there.
that's
right?
a lot. Yes. And so our cost there is tremendous. The water cost is our water rate is actually, as of right now, is pretty reasonable. But we're also at the point where we have infrastructure that is becoming dangerous to the point of, in terms of running out of time and because of age. We could in theory, we could come up with a scenario where we'd replace filters, replace pumps, do a several $1 million upgrade, not do any service to industry, and the reality of it is probably by the time we got done, Jessica, correct me if I'm wrong, but we'd probably be raising the rates pretty significantly just to the ratepayers without
It's
doing
hard
anything.
to pick a point in time because rates are always leapfrogging
Right.
in every community.
But we would still have a significant rate increase, and we would probably get very little assistance grant-wise or funding-wise because we're not really changing anything.
Right.
We're not
And
really improving
You brought
anything.
up one thing I wanted to mention back when Amy was speaking earlier about the timeline. Just a lot of that timeline is regulated by the state revolving fund, which is who is helping finance this project and providing $5 million in grant money to help finance this project. So if the loan doesn't close with them by June 30th, the city loses $5 million for the project.
If we fall out of the timeline, we will fail. So we
when,
can.
when will this rate go into effect?
Not officially, when would it officially go into effect?
I think you guys had July 1st on here.
Because you guys
I think
haven't
it's July
approved it
1st.
yet. I know you
Right.
voted on it
Yeah.
once.
It wouldn't be till July 1st at the soonest.
That just says in full force and effect after its passage, so the next bill, if it gets passed tonight.
Is there another one or more rate increases after this one that is
No.
planned?
There's no.
So this is the last one.
Yes.
I
This
don't
is the last
understand what you're talking about. Sorry.
You're saying something about the subsidy to go into effect. What are you talking about there, the subsidy?
You're talking about for Cardinal, for example?
Yeah, well,
The
The
5 million
surcharge.
that we mentioned.
Well,
Well, the $5 million I mentioned was a grant from
yeah,
SRF.
she's talking
Right.
about the grant thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's the subsidy you're talking about.
Yeah, so they're providing $5 million towards project costs, so that's when construction starts. They'll start drawing from that $5
And
million.
you're saying if we don't pay the water bills by July, then that goes away? They're
If you
not
don't
gonna do
close
any
on
of
a
that?
loan with the state revolving fund, you don't get any of that money. And
We
your
can't close
water
on the loan.
rates
But we're
have to
not
be
getting the money.
adopted to.
Ethanol's getting the money, right?
No,
No.
ethanol doesn't
No.
get the money.
It's,
Ethanol not getting the money.
yeah,
No.
it's a,
It's for the operating of the new,
It's for this,
Infrastructure.
toward
right.
this bond issue, toward all these improvements.
Yes.
Ethanol plant's the biggest customer Union City's got. We have more improvements and have had better things going on with the water department after we contracted with ethanol.
Well, we should, you're
That-
right.
That's been a good thing. We had the water, they needed it, they employ at very good wages, a lot of people, and it's been a good thing for Union City.
Right.
I don't like the idea of condemning them just because they're a profit-making
Well,
organization.
If you're gonna put a bigger line in for more water, what's the reason for the more water?
We're gonna sell them more water.
they're
I
doing
know that,
they're
but
doing-
what are they doing up
Car-
there?
If they
Carbon-
got the water
carbon
down,
capture.
But they're expanding production.
They're
yeah,
expanding.
expanding.
So they are gonna expand,
They already have to a certain degree. We're
Have
already
they?
pumping more than what we had.
that,
And their expansion,
Yeah.
let's see, they were, originally it was around 1 million gallons. They're probably 1.5.
Is that $1 million a day?
Yeah. And then they're on a timeline looking at 2.
And
So
this is
that's-
one of the most successful
part of the-
ethanol plants in the country.
But
They've been closing up in other places. This
Wow.
one's
They
growing.
closed a bunch of them.
they're all subsidized anyway, ain't they, all of
No,
them?
this one's not subsidized.
so Jessica, if I butcher this up, correct me. But
Will do.
so if one of the things that the question with the contribution with industry is if the industry doesn't contribute, there's a significant surcharge that basically makes up for that. The only
Correct.
thing is that doesn't show up as an immediate influx of funds. So that doesn't allow, if, if, it'd be nice if you could just say, no, we'd take the rate that it would be with the contribution because of the subsidy, but that money doesn't exist yet, so we can't count it. Ultimately, we'll recover it,
Right.
but it doesn't do us any good at this point. So that then, in order to, one of the things you have to do in order to satisfy the funding and the grant is you have to prove that you can pay. It's kind of like when you go to the bank and the way you prove you can get a loan is that you don't need it.
Right.
Is we have to be able to prove that we have the ability to pay our way on this.
Well,
So
There's a lot of people that, I'm afraid, in this town are not gonna have the ability to pay their water bill now. What's that gonna do? What's that?
What are you gonna do about that?
We have a question, sir. You mind your name and
My name is Marlon Hugo, live in Shannon Court. I'm speaking as a landlord, I can allow a tenant that pays their own water bill. But that's gonna affect how much I can do on my rate increase on my grant, because they got a water increase. It's gonna be a bind there, because I gotta put my money back into the place to keep it up, repairs. And they can't afford the rent if I raise the rent on it, because the water bill goes up.
now they like our water because it's good and clean, and ready to go for them out there. Okay, if they had to build their own, and drill their own wells out there, how much money are we saving them from having to build their own water plant out there?
Mention that to them when you negotiate.
we have, yeah, correct. That's no.
That's saving them a ton of money.
But even there, all this is not gonna help the people of Union City, Indiana. If you raise the water bills, there's gonna be people that can't afford the water bills.
So the worst case scenario rate that's proposed, it's a 64-cent per day increase, is what it is.
That adds up.
It does add up, but my question is 64 cents per day. And again, I go back to the conversation we had at the very beginning. We're going to have to agree to disagree when you said it doesn't help Union City, because these are for infrastructure improvements.
No, I'm saying it doesn't help the people, any that can't
That-
pay their bills.
The citizens.
Well, okay, the people, if the people are having problems paying the bill, I see where it doesn't help them directly. But I would caution against using the blanket of it doesn't help the people of Union City. Because long term, we've got to not think about May 12th, 2025. We've got to think, where do we want to be in 2030? Do we want the opportunity for more industry in the community? Do we want more opportunities?
Do you have a breakdown from what it costs to run the line to the ethanol plant, separate from what it costs to do the infrastructure out
Yes,
there?
we have sliced and diced that, yes.
Do we have any paperwork
And-
that we can see that?
Our project, yes, that was provided. Our project, without that, was still going to be about a $9 million project
Just
versus,
for the infrastructure without going on to the ethanol
correct,
plant?
which makes it a $14 million project.
So there's $5 million going out to them, and then $9 million here for the
Correct.
infrastructure.
Correct.
And for this infrastructure, my understanding is that then it is a capacity to supply industry in the industrial park, which means that there could be other companies that come and set up operations there.
Now, that's sewer lines and everything going out there, and I ain't just.
That's just the water line for them.
I ain't, you ain't counting this, so that'd be another.
That's just water line for them. They don't need a sewer line from us.
No, I mean for the infrastructure for us.
Oh, for us. Yeah, this is just water upgrades.
That's just water going out here to make the loop.
Correct. Correct.
So when they do the sewer stuff in, that'll be a whole different, another project?
Potentially. I don't know. Because there are wastewater lines out there currently to body company.
You just.
Or body company, Workhorse.
Workhorse now, yeah.
So they have wastewater access out there. So, but keep in mind, the other part of this project are upgrades to the filters and the South Main water loop.
Well, just remember who got you where you're at. It was the citizens of Union City. And if them citizens, half of them or a third or a tenth, can't pay their water bill, what are you going to do about it? You got to look at both ends.
I agree. if you want to know the
I
truth,
know
Pat,
you can see the sun coming up, but it also goes down.
Pat, I don't even want to be sitting here right now. I didn't ask to run for mayor. I had people ask me. I swear to God, I had people ask me, and I said hell no many times at the beginning. I'm sitting in your shoes right now because that's where I would rather. Well, actually, I wouldn't even be here. I never attended a council meeting.
You can do something about that. You can resign if you don't like the job. You get paid what, $26,000 a year?
Trust me. That's crossed my mind.
Getting up for your water bill anyway.
Yeah.
But trust me, there's times I'm like, why am I in this? What am I in this for? What am I? No, hold on a second. There's times I ask, why am I doing this? I mean, I've got a person sitting right in the back row that cuts me down on Facebook all the time, every chance she gets.
Why?
Because she's upset with an alley issue behind her and her neighbors.
It has been taken 3 years.
And-
They will not solve it, and my son was almost hit and killed, and they have not solved it yet.
And we
It's
haven't.
due for somebody else 3 days later.
We haven't solved it yet because there's an opposing force at work with that situation. Yes, there is.
It ends
And-
behind my garage. There's no opposing.
Okay, well, the fact is, there's at some point in time where you've got to decide, am I going to be mad at the world forever and rant and rave, or am I going to try to help others the best I can and know that at the end of the day, it's still not going to be enough for everybody. But at the end of the day, you hope beyond all hope that you've left things a little bit better than what they were when you started.
Right.
And you hope the next person comes along, it's exponentially
That's the
better.
reason why I said you guys ought to be looking what you can cut. And I mentioned
Right.
the city manager.
Well, again, there's a lot that goes on with that role.
If you can vote on this, you can vote on that.
Follow my example.
But that's not, unfortunately, that would still not affect the water. Because
Well,
that's a
and
separate bucket.
I will mention also that what was introduced last month and published in the paper, the council and mayor did cut back on the annual capital improvements to look at tonight a lower increase. So it's about an 8% difference that you brought rates down because they cut that annual capital project allowance.
But you mentioned Cardinal Ethanol, multi-million-dollar company, and how much are they paying us? Per month, per month, say
For water?
BPR bills, how much is their water bill?
Whatever 1 million gallons a day times 30 days consumption
What they
is.
paid in 2024 was $520,600.
So over $500,000.
Multi-million-dollar company, and you're talking about your citizens,
That was
Most of them-
45% of the total water revenue
and they
So-
is what they paid.
So if they would pay
Well,
almost
they do.
twice that, they'd be approaching $1 million. They'd be paying us a
they
year.
should be paying that.
I agree.
It should not fall on us citizens. You
If you
should go
agree,
Well,
to
then
them.
why you do something about it?
Which
Well, no, we've still got, regardless, you take Cardinal completely out of this equation, we still have to raise rates at least some degree because the $5 million grant,
You said last time you were
demands
going to
it.
raise them again. And that was 15%. You did 10% last year. You did another 15% and said that would be the last raise that we would see.
Because Conklin set rates before he
Yes.
went out of
the rates hadn't been raised since 2016
because he
until
set rates because he
these
said
last
so you
raise.
guys wouldn't get in trouble doing it because he was not going to run.
we hadn't raised rates since
Well-
2016. We had a rate increase recommendation of about 41% at that point in time 2 years ago.
Correct,
And
2023.
we negotiated down to where we went to a 10%, a 5%, and another 5%. And that's not to say that rates would ever go up after that. That was just a 3-year plan, basically, at that point. And like I say, I think it was 41% was
Yeah,
what the recommendation was at the time.
that sounds right. I don't have
Which-
those numbers in front of me, but it
In
sounds
reflection, if we'd have done the 41%, we would probably not, we would already have collected some of the money that we're using for this, but in Cardinal, for example, or industry, but Cardinal in particular will pay a surcharge. If they don't make the contribution, they will pay a significant surcharge, which, as you say, will probably basically turn it into $1 million
yeah.
a year. So by doing that, they're going to pay, and I did the math on it early on, and I think it's actually prudent for them to make the contribution because that surcharge goes on long enough that they're going to pay a lot more than $5 million by the time they get done.
Yes.
It doesn't show up at the beginning of this where we need it to keep the rates down. That's the reason for that is it keeps the rates down for the consumer. And that's where we really need to be,
Right.
but we're not there today with that.
Right.
With
them.
that surcharge, the percent increase to
And
Cardinal
that's
is
the
almost
best
double what
argument,
it is to everyone
and that's the
else.
best argument, quite frankly, to use on them is that, it's pay me now, pay me later, and your pay me later is going to be a lot more.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they may choose to take that path, but
So one thing I'm understanding from this whole conversation is that by increasing the rates now, that allows us to qualify for this. What is that? The $5 million. What is it?
$5 million grant.
From SRF, yes,
From
the state
SRF.
revolving fund.
Okay, that allows the work to go forward. That allows increased water flow. Our customer gets more water and pays more as a result. That flow of money is likely, this is what I'm hearing, to increase the sort of revenue flow from that, such that we may be able to reduce the water rates at some point in the future. Is that what that's what I thought I heard you say?
With the Cardinal contribution.
Yes,
Cardinal
Cardinal
contribution.
would be able to reduce it, yeah.
I've never seen anybody lower prices after they raise it.
It is our goal for that to happen.
Hold us to it.
See, write it on the contract.
Yeah,
So you're saying the best scenario that we can get is we'll have to pay 64 more cents a day.
Worst case scenario
Worst case.
is what it averages out to. Yeah. Yeah.
So what's wrong with that?
What's wrong with that?
64 cents a day. I might be able to handle that.
Well, that's
Yeah, I'm gonna pay
that's what this
$15 a month.
that's what this meeting's about.
Yeah, but in that, I thought it was him that said it's going to go up like 68% or something.
No.
Well, we're talking
I'm
percentages, and their numbers can lie. Surprisingly, we're talking percentage. You're talking percentages, and I'm talking actual cents per day. What that breaks down to, what the actual cost per day increase is. So 64% or 64 cents, based on the percentage increase, average increase per day. So that's what it would be.
You're talking like $18 to $20 a month more.
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
I
So
don't like it, but I mean.
I don't either.
That's
It's
better than the worst case scenario.
Yeah, I mean, it all depends on your usage, but
Right.
if you use $4,000 a month, not a day. That's crazy. Sorry. But that's an increase of $16.36 for a monthly bill. And that 4,000 gallons, the reason we use that is we do comparative rate studies throughout the state of Indiana, and most residential customers use around 4,000 gallons a month throughout the state.
Cheap at 750 one year. I work hard at keeping that.
I think he's got a hole in the backyard.
You know, my water bill's $20.
Yeah, you're
The
on
water
the,
portion.
yeah.
So I go up $11, go up to 31,
Correct.
something like that.
correct.
Mine's gonna go up $15. Come on, I'm still more than that.
Yeah, that would be my ask. I agree, and I know Ms. Keller left. I agree. It's unpleasant, and I agree. Cardinal, absolutely. To be fair, we want them to be, and we need them to be community partners in this. We need them to be community partners in this, and they should want to be, and I know they want to be.
Well,
Well,
they still need to pay their
Yeah,
fair
Yes,
share.
agreed.
Why,
Agreed.
why can't you negotiate with them on the rate now?
We're working on it. We've got another. We've been meeting. We've got another one May 22nd.
Why isn't that done before you think about raising it on the citizen?
Because we still have to raise the rates for the grant, for the $5 million grant that we're getting for this project, which is more than a third of the project that we're getting given to us. We have to show that we've raised rates. There's no other way around that. That's a state. That's a state mandate.
Chad, can I throw something in on this?
Please.
Is that one of the things that we do also is that we solidify the surcharges by doing this, so that now you can say, okay, here's the rate. You choose not to pay. Here's the surcharge. The council's already passed this ordinance with the surcharges in it. So this is solid. This isn't iffy. This is solid. And so that's the
burden goes back on them then.
right. And if they choose to make, and I believe they can do this out of TIF, can't they? Can they do this with TIF funds?
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, it would qualify because it's
It
for
qualifies.
infrastructure for their operation.
And so they've got, they can do this. I'll put them to shame here. They need to step up and contribute to this because they contribute to the community, but they do it and make a fair profit out of that too. So it's not just, there's a, and so they
Well,
need
they got
this.
a lot more to lose than we do.
I still don't. I said when we went into this process, I didn't want to see the residential customers subsidizing industry. Now we have increased. There's part of this increase that is most definitely rate increase, or there's rate increase, but we have because we need to repair to upgrade our system just to survive. Period.
Right.
So we're looking at rate increase, but it was always my goal to keep it to where the citizens didn't particularly subsidize industry. And I think it's the responsibility of industry to step up to make sure that doesn't happen too.
Right. Agreed.
Greatly value them, but
Yeah,
they need to be that part of the community.
Absolutely.
I think, I'm going to put my 2 cents in here, but and maybe I'll change my name too.
That's a violation.
But I look at it as a catch-22. If you take the industry out of it, we already have problems that we have to correct. If we don't correct those problems in this time frame where we get the grant, we don't do that because we want to keep rates lower and we want to make it so that everybody can pay our bills. And I pay 2 water bills, and one of them is at a store that we probably flush the toilet 3 times a day, and that's it. I mean, well, you wash your hands, I hope, but anyhow, so I don't want water rates to go up either. But okay, so let's say that we don't raise water rates, and it makes it easier for everybody, so the bills are not there. Well, then, because our infrastructure needs repaired and we're not doing it, we're suddenly hit with bills that we didn't do ahead. We didn't do preventive maintenance. Now we've got problems that we have to go after. It's going to cost us a lot more. And then the water rates are definitely going to go up because we have to pay for things that we didn't look forward and try to fix before they happen. And now we put the industry back into it. So let's say industry on the same side, catch-22. If we don't put money into the industry, then things keep getting worse in town. We don't have the restaurants. We don't have the businesses. I own a business. People know that. It's a computer store. I rely on industry. I rely on the people in this town to be able to have jobs, to be able to come to my store. If we don't create that industry, then my store can't survive, and pretty soon there won't be a computer store, and there won't be a Hometown Coffee, and there won't be the New Deli, and all these things, because we didn't go the effort to try to make it happen, because we wanted to keep the bills lower. And when we look at the big picture, while it says 65, 95, whatever percentage rate, when we look at the big picture and we see that it may cost us $15 or $20 per household to circumvent all of that, to be able to have industry, to be able to fix our problems and keep things going. It's a minor thing. If we went back in history 200 years and said, whatever, put in the right monetary of $100, whatever would have been $100 to them back then, you don't have to have an outhouse. You can pay $100 a month so you can have actual indoor water. I think everybody would have jumped on it. So I think we take for granted how good it is and how little that we have to really pay.
You're talking preventative maintenance.
Yeah. That's what we're doing here, and we don't want to raise the water bills for us, for you, for anybody, but we have to.
Well, we realize that, but also at the same time, our tax base is going up.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So you add the water bill and the tax base, and pretty soon you're stressed out.
Yeah. And fortunately, we have no control of that, so we can't say.
Yeah, I
anything
know
about
that, but
Oh, we're going
it's a considering factor, though.
Yeah, it's a double punch to the gut.
Well,
Right.
it's just the same considering factor that what it costs you at the grocery store.
Right, oh, look
That's-
at it.
We're hitting every direction.
Well, Trump said he was gonna take care of that. Sorry, I didn't mean to bring the politics up.
Can you guarantee us the rate not gonna go up for a few number of years?
I've never made any guarantees on any increase because I
Well, I
can't.
just did. I mean, when are we gonna stop?
Well, I agree.
You know?
One would hope. One would hope.
To put that in perspective,
I-
though, it was the actual, other than when we started, well, I wasn't here yet, but when they started making the thing in 2023 to raise the rates, that was the first time that since in 7 years prior to that. So if you count where they're happening now, that's 9 years that the rates didn't go up. And if you take the amount of percentage that's going up now, essentially, and you backdate that, say we raised it every year, it's only like 7%. I mean, it's not a big increase. It just sounds like a big increase because it's all happening at one time.
So I just want to say one more thing. Like, I don't know. I like to think that maybe the participation that we've had in this meeting was because of a Facebook post that I put last night. Let me tell you, I was panicked, and should I do this? Or we're going to have a big crowd, everybody complaining. But you know what? The outcome is awesome. You're asking challenging questions, and you're getting clarification. So I'm very thankful that I pressed click post, and that you all came and asked the challenging questions, because we do. We have to be accountable to our citizens, and I think you've gotten some much clearer explanations. I don't understand everything, but between us and with our helpers here, I think we get it right. So
if the ethanol plant would give a good donation towards this, the percentage our bill would go up, would come down.
Correct.
Instead of 60, it could come down to 30, 40.
It depends on what they would get. Yes,
Whatever they would
yes.
get.
Short answer, yes, yes. And that's why I told Miss
Brush.
Thank you, Miss Bruss.
Right, man.
So I told Miss Bruss that to hold us to that, because again, we want that contribution, so our bills go down too.
Well, I'm not up here to criticize anybody. I've been here 74 years. I've been a citizen for 74 years in Union City. And you? No, I know where you came from. But what I'm trying to say is that you guys do a good job. I ain't saying you don't, but the whole key is you gotta take care of your citizens, because there's a lot of them, and the rent has went through the roof on a lot of these places, and probably a lot of it's going to go up again because of the property tax. How's all these people going to afford this in Union City?
Well, you know what my hope would be, and this guy always calls me during a council meeting, and he should know better. My hope is that we can elevate ourselves.
Well, that's the reason why I said you guys need to look. All of you need to look on what you can cut within the city, because we're the citizens of Union City.
I agree, Pat.
And we rely on you guys to keep us at a steady keel.
Pat, I agree. But we've got to stop.
We can't.
We always no. Hold on a second. Give me a second. We always need to be looking to be as efficient as possible. There's no two ways about that. You've got that 1,000,000,000% right. But the problem is, our thinking in this community that I've observed for decades now is we're always looking to where we can avoid the most pain, or cut or trim, or whatever the case may be. But we never talk about how can we be better. And we're not better by just holding costs down or reducing costs. Well, no, I'm talking about us as individuals. Because the harsh reality is, and we're all beyond this point, but these kids in this community, and 20-year-olds and 30-year-olds, you can work anywhere in the world now and live anywhere in the world. You can work in San Francisco but live in Union City. And we've got to be pressing ourselves, how can we tap into that? How can we get our kids and our young adults to become stronger and more productive and earn better wages so they because trust me, the cost of living in a New York City, San Francisco, Indianapolis, exponentially higher than what is here. But they could live here and live rather well because they could have the same home here. My home or Tito's home or Tim's home would be 2 to 3 times more in Indianapolis. Easy. And that's what the answer, that's the question we've got to be asking ourselves. How can we improve ourselves? That's why we've got Vision Corner. That's why we're present. That's why kids redid a bus and went out west to explore and see what can be done differently. That's why we're doing these various things that are outside the box thinking, because we're trying to push ourselves to be better, productive Americans, because that's what we do. That's what we've done for a couple centuries anyway, very well, but we've lost our way in these small towns. Because I drive through the Genevas, I drive through the Richvilles, I drive through the Saratogas. God love them, I love those communities, and I know those people love their communities too. But they'll probably say the same narrative that we're saying. It's not like it used to be. I remember when we had all these factories and all these people living and the kids were in the school. That's every small community in Indiana right now, except Carmel and Indianapolis and Fishers, Noblesville, and everything in the middle. And so we've got to work like gangbusters to push ourselves and how we can be better. We've got to. How can we rethink business in town? How can we rethink rental properties? How can we rethink your property on the corner, the Marathon Station? How can we rethink that corner to where it becomes a vibrant, productive part of the community to help him and help the community?
Are we still in the water meeting? Or?
I love you, Pat. All right.
Sorry.
No, that was a perfect comeback. So, all right. Yes. Name and.
My name is Jim Chris, and half of you know me. But anyways, I got a question. This funding that we're having to put up to get this grant, I always thought grants were basically without a percentage payback or anything else like that. The money that we're having to put up for this grant, is it an application fee?
No.
Would you care to just
I mean, it's
detail the SRF?
It's all the money comes through the state. It's regulated by the Indiana Finance Authority, and the only way you can even get access to this grant funding is if you apply for a project through the state revolving fund, and then I think their project priority list this past year was probably 100 applications, maybe 200.
So this is an application fee.
And well, so there's an application that you submit to the state revolving fund. They rank all of the projects, and then if you're in the fundable range, which by the way, only like 7 of the 100 to 200 applications are in the fundable range, and that's the only way you even get access to this grant money. And then they will look at your project and determine what amount of grant funding that they have available they are able to contribute to the project. And so that's when they determine from that $14 million that all the design and scope that the engineers that aren't here that they did and worked with through SRF, then SRF looked on their engineering team, looked at it and said that they could contribute $5 million to that.
And that don't have to be paid back.
No,
No,
correct.
it does not.
There's no fee in
Okay,
Yeah,
well,
there's
I'm
not a
glad
fee
that we're
involved with that.
seeking outside assistance, because when I came in here, I was Steve, because I'm already paying something like the minimum bill, water bill or whatever I pay, and that's including sewage and everything else, like it's like $77. And I've had a water bill as high as 83. So if you guys are gonna hike it up, that's gonna be like $100 for me, and I'm only one person. I think that's pretty high. When I first moved to Union City back in 1997, my water bill was something like $35.90. It's tripled. Of course, though, it seems as if every 10 years everything like doubles. So maybe you guys are right on schedule. I don't like it.
Most of the cost increase was a brand new wastewater treatment plant.
Yeah, that's what Ryan Prempey told me.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, geez, we had a grant or something back
We
then.
did.
We got
Really?
Yeah, it was a
significant.
$7 million grant, I believe.
No, we had, I think it was what, $4.5 million in grant funding. It was almost $9 million project.
Correct.
So
Yeah.
we basically got half of the money in grant funding, and it still took a significant. And of course, in order to be eligible for that, we had to do a very significant rate increase.
Yeah.
It's hence the rate we have today. Now, one of the things to keep in mind is that let's jump just on the wastewater thing as an example. Many years ago, Chad will remember when we were still paying on the 1961 wastewater bonds.
Yep.
And Anita Amsball was working her tail off to come up with creative ways and how to figure out how to retire those bonds. And we retired those bonds before we started on, I believe, the new plant,
Right.
the rebuild of the plant. But we're still, one of the things that had happened is the rates were held down because everybody's making comparison on rates and trying to keep those rates down. And Ms. Keller brought up her daughter in Muncie, but I grew up in Muncie, lived in Muncie until 1985. And one of the things that was noticeable moving to Union City is, yes, the water and sewer rate was higher here, but my rent was also half of what it was in Muncie. So my net result is cheaper to live in Union City if you took everything into consideration, because it cost a fair amount more to live in Muncie. Now, yeah, they had because of economy of scale, their water and sewer is different, and that's one of the things you get into is the fact that larger community spreads the cost over a larger area, more people, more size, and it becomes cheaper.
Well, if that's the case, I make a motion to run a sewer line out to the ethanol plant, and that way they can pay.
If we could get the sewer rate based on that, then we'd pay for we'd have a whole different wastewater situation. But unfortunately,
One
they
second
don't.
your motion.
All right. Well, seriously, thank you for your attendance and your input. For the sake of brevity, we're going to go ahead and close the public hearing at 7:16 p.m. and we will now open the meeting. So everyone, if would please rise for the pledge and remain standing for the prayer. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear Heavenly Father, this has been a tough evening, and so often in life we're faced with situations we don't have the answers, or we don't have the answers we want for sure. We pray to you for guidance and wisdom. We pray to you for strength, and we pray to you to keep heaven in our hearts and our minds. Help us to keep a bigger picture in mind, and just to in keeping that in mind, keeping you in mind, help us to love one another and to help one another and to forgive one another and to show grace to one another, and just help us to be the citizens in this community that your heart is for us to be. And we give you thanks and praise, and we're so thankful for every individual in this room and in this community, and ask that you be with them, strengthen them. You know the concerns in their hearts. We don't, but you know the things that hurt them, the things that they worry about, the things that they miss, the things that they love. Just pray that you be with them. Let them know they're never, ever alone. We give you all the glory, praise, and in Jesus' mighty name we pray. Amen. All right, Amy, if you would, roll call vote.
Gary Elliott.
Here.
Bob
Roll call.
Lane,
Here.
Jason Bird.
Here.
Tim Rice.
Yeah.
Peter Freeman.
Here.
All right. I trust you've had an opportunity to review the consent agenda as presented. Do you have any questions or comments? If not, I would entertain a motion.
I move we accept the consent agenda as presented.
We have a first, and we have a second.
All second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, nay. Consent agenda approved as presented. We have no presenters. Department reports. The American Legion has started the grant, or the fundraising window has started for Military Park over here to finish it. And my apologies, I should owe you guys a picture of what it looks like. You can find the picture on the website. But they're trying to raise $30,000 in 60 days. And if they do, they get another $30,000 from Patronicity, which would finish the $60,000 project for that park, military park, which would put in, erect poles, create seating area, run a sidewalk to the seating area for people to sit and reflect with a water feature in the middle. The water feature runs 24/7 to reflect the fact that our men and women who serve don't get a break. They serve 24/7. And then the rock out the park that a lot of people don't know about out there is dedicated military. It will be with the blessing of the family that helped get it there. They're going to put it up in Military Park, and so it's a beautiful, and it's going to have lighting, so it'll be lit up at night, all night, like it should be. So it's really beautiful, but it'll all be through donations. And thankfully enough, we're off and running. Community Foundation donated $5,000 to it. And then Jim Dubinsky of the Lions Club, he said that a match of that is coming from the Lions Club. If I understood him correctly, it would be another $5,000, so we're a third of the way there. So that's a cool thing. And best wishes to American Legion, because I just think that's awesome. Mark, did you have anything you wanted to cover? Okay. Amy, anything that you needed to cover?
No, not
Okay.
anything beyond this.
Council members, Tito, we'll start with you.
Yes, I come with a nice little list of things to talk about. I apologize I wasn't able to be here at the last meeting, but I watched attentively, and so I wanted to do a shout-out, 2 shout-outs. So one is a shout-out to citizens who raise concerns on social media. They may not be able to attend council meetings, which we would prefer, but by golly, it can have positive outcomes. I know that I've seen comments about some properties owned by the city manager receiving city services and located within city limits, but not technically part of the city and not paying property tax. That was a rumor. I was in Oklahoma, so I watched it, and so I was pleasantly surprised. Second shout out, directly related, I want to commend our city manager, Steve Shoemaker, for actually bringing up that issue directly himself of his own volition and initiative. Mr. Shoemaker has shown responsiveness to citizen concerns, and the city council and mayor quickly made, in my absence, the right decision to fix the problem. And that's why we're talking about annexation and that whole process. So I was very, something I would have voted in agreement for, and just wanted to provide those shout outs to people. Second point is when people are asking, do we know when the fireworks display is, the July 4th for Union City? Do we know that yet?
It will definitely be posted on the site. So we will, I don't want to tell the date because I don't want to screw up everybody's schedule. So we will have that posted on the site before the end of the week.
Okay.
On the app.
Okay, great. Third is about the swimming pool, and I wasn't able to attend the Board of Public Works. Can someone give us an update, because people were concerned that the pool might not open? Is it going to open? Do we have enough lifeguard candidates and coach candidates?
We have enough lifeguard candidates at this point. Well, I'll put it this way: at this point in time, we are not keeping the pool closed. But we do have obstacles to overcome because none of our lifeguards have certification carryover from previous years. So we're dependent on getting everybody trained through the classes. So that's still part of the process, is getting the candidates through the training, having enough candidates to pass to do this. But it's not. It's a good step. We're in a better position than we were. We had some people at school, I think both students and teachers that did an outstanding job of recruiting young people to sign up for these jobs. So we're in a much better spot than we were. So it looks positive. Won't guarantee anything at this point, but it looks positive.
But we're not keeping it closed.
But no, absolutely. Okay. At this point, we are not. It's still possible, but as long as we get everybody trained, we're okay.
Can I ask a question? What age is it, like 16 and up?
Oh,
15. They have to be 15 years old before they can get trained for the lifeguard positions.
Okay, 15 years. That was a question that was asked on, as well on social media. Do we know who is going to manage it? Do we have candidates for that? Or we?
At this time,
No, we don't. I mean, the last few years, they've not had a manager per se, but it had been discussed, trying to do that. But we had a couple potential, but they took other jobs because in the meantime, we didn't have enough people even
for
signed
lifeguards.
up to do the lifeguard position.
So we may be recruiting for that.
Possibly, yes. And if
Okay.
we do put in a management position, I mean, we would have to, we don't have that in our salary ordinance right now. So we would have to do an amendment to create, the line item.
Do they have to do a CPR and all that?
Yes.
The lifeguards
Yes.
Do they?
Yeah. And they would be trained, so that's what part of the training that they would receive.
Oh, okay.
Also, there was a concern about if it is free to the public as it was last year. We love the fact that many more people use the can benefit from it. You also get some rowdiness and fights break out. It becomes a little harder to manage. So, wondering if that's being considered at all by the Board of Public.
I don't know that would be statistically proven that
Okay.
increased any calls for service out there.
Truthfully, we haven't even had any meaningful discussion about that because we were focused just on whether we
Getting
could
it
get
open.
the pool. I tend to err to Mark's point in that I think there were may have been problems, but it's not. I don't think it's from because we still have attendance rules as far as how many kids can be in there and everything. I think it's probably just a circumstance of because that's possible to have even if they're paid attendance, and we can throw someone out of the pool, but even if they're not paid to get in or anything, it doesn't change
Sure.
anything. They can be expelled for misbehavior and so forth. So I don't know that that's necessarily going to change, but like I say, we haven't even had that discussion because we were just trying to get to the point where we would even be able to talk
Okay.
about opening the pool.
Okay, good. All right, thank you. I do have a few more. Someone is saying since we're improving the water utility, water is still very hard. A lot of calcium deposits, and it ruins appliances and so forth. And just wondering if that can somehow, if there's any way to fix that or to improve that at all within the costs foreseen. Kind of
It's not
thing.
only calcium, it's lime too, it's awful.
Lime, yes.
That would be a question for the engineers.
Yes, it is.
Fly away.
I'll throw one thing out there. Portland used to have a water softening system, and in fairly recent history, they've shut that down. From my understanding, they've shut that down and done away with it because it's a rather monumental task and expense to do that. And so, I mean, some of us have water softeners that we run, and I work mine pretty hard.
Yeah, me too.
We use a little
We have a
filter.
water softener, but it's still bad.
But
Somebody brought up the fact that I know we have new stop signs on Pearl and Oak and Pearl and Columbia and Oak and Columbia. But when you're coming, I think south on Columbia, that stop sign cannot be seen because of that tree, and it's just a matter of time between those leaves get a little bigger. It's buds right now, but that's the stop signs is like we need to check on visibility on that, please. So just a word to the wise there for the city.
So the lights are coming down sooner or later, right? The flashing light? Is that
we're in a point of
Trial period. Right
we're in a
now.
trial period at this point for 6 months. I'm not terribly optimistic that we'll go back to full signals. We may go back to full signals until the time of replacement.
Get
Well,
them quicker now than I did before.
if the decision by the state state highway is to eliminate the full signals, we're lobbying pretty hard to keep a four-way flasher on those intersections. I think it'd be.
I don't mind that.
I was in those meetings with the state highway representatives, and I was pretty adamant that we really need the four-way signals overhead, because otherwise, people just fly through.
Does that cost us just?
No, we don't have any financial charge in that at all.
Blinker?
Right.
I'll be honest with you. I thought I was going to hate those stoplights being removed, but I like it better because. And Steve said statistically, because this is provided by NDOT, the average person spends less time at a four-way stop than they do at a stoplight. Right. So it's actually you're more efficient without having
beat them trains now.
There was another.
I didn't hear that.
Yeah, two more things. One thing I promised on Facebook, I promised Amy Keller that I would ask about the following question because she received a water bill for May on May 2nd. She paid it on the 7th. It was due on the 15th. And then she received the same bill again via email just a couple days ago. So what's going on? You can imagine what people are saying about that. But, I mean, does anyone know how that system works? Or are we're sending out paper and also sending out email ones?
I believe she called in and spoke to Mary Ann earlier today.
Okay.
And that was, the way I understood it, it was just like something that got kicked out a second time. I can't say that for certain.
Okay. I'm imagining that you've got the maybe a parallel system, and when they pay with a check or something, then this one does. There probably has to be some way to take it off the email so it doesn't send. So maybe that's.
Yeah, and I can't, like I said, I didn't hear the whole conversation, obviously, since it was on the phone, but we can check into that and find out for sure.
Yes, please. Okay. Yeah, just want to make sure that people aren't getting billed twice because it causes questions, weird questions. Okay, last thing. Last few meetings that I've been at, I've talked about Indiana Senate Bill 1, which was projected to reduce Union City's property tax revenue. That passed. And according to the Legislative Services Agency's fiscal analysis, Union City is expected to experience the following reductions in property tax revenue. In 2026, reduction of $142,100. In 2027, reduction of $143,900, between $143,900 and $145,800. And in 2028, between $144,800 and $146,700. So these figures represent the anticipated decrease in property tax collections resulting from the provisions of Senate Bill 1. So obviously, I've said this a couple times, that reduction in that revenue may impact Union City's ability to fund essential services, including public safety, infrastructure maintenance, and community programs. And so I am urging the city administration to systematically begin looking for ways to reduce spending as soon as possible. So when I have managed large projects or organizations that have a funding decrease, we look at all expenditures. Every department, every sub-department is looking for ways to make things more efficient. Are we really choosing the lowest cost thing? Do we really need this, that, or the other? What things are just nice to have, and what things are absolutely essential to be able to deliver the service that's required by the public? So I won't go through all my ideas for how to do that, but if we could start some kind of process like that, I think it would be a fantastic thing. Somebody mentioned earlier during the hearing that we wouldn't want to increase taxes. That same bill does authorize local taxes, but we do not want to go there. So let's look first at what we can cut, if possible and necessary. That's all I have.
Well, I added light of the current assessment that we're all aware of and not thrilled about, that until that whole thing irons out, we don't really know where we're going to be is with a lot of the current, the 2024 assessments, or 2025 assessments payable 26.
They went up.
We may have, yeah. If you look at the chart you shared that showed county by county, the revenue cuts are actually a throttling of the increase, as in the chart that had Randolph County without changes, without SB1, we went from 2025 receipts of 32 million, I think it was, or 31 million, to 2028 at 40 million, whereas it went on the SB1 chart, it went from the 31 million to 32 something like that. So there's still an actual increase total countywide. I don't know how Union City falls in that, but so it's kind of a moving target at this point too. So we may not particularly lose revenue.
Right.
That's not to say we don't look for efficiencies by any means.
Right.
We should always be doing that. But
It's just your increases aren't what they've been.
the increases aren't going to be what they've been or what were originally projected, but we may not necessarily be looking at decreases.
Okay.
Correct.
Thank you.
But it also depends on how much relief you get on your bill when you
Well, I tell you, I went over to the county and got an appeals, and they didn't have enough paper over there for all the people.
There
So they're
were-
trying to- which probably won't mean much. but-
Last Monday morning, there were 65 people waiting to get in the
See?
courthouse first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
So
It ain't just me.
no.
Tim.
Yes. The only thing I've got to add is just a reminder that the State Liners downtown cruise in is June 7th, Saturday, June 7th. I think streets close at noon, but the event's basically 3 to 8, and invite everybody. There's going to be a pretty large number of cars, some bounce houses for kids, valve cover racing. Cook and Bell is playing at the park during that event, so I think it's going to be a great time.
It's going to be a fantastic
I'd love to
time.
have as many people here as local as possible to come enjoy. There's food available, and I think it'll be a great event.
It'll be an awesome event. Absolutely.
Is that the big one you're talking about?
Yeah.
Is that guy from the lumberyard going to have that truck up there?
Yep. Yep.
Jason.
No, I do not.
And hopefully another car
Bob?
might get done.
Nope.
Gary?
Nope.
One thing I've got for you guys is why did you not share the gray shirt memo with Tito and me?
It's just for this event. Get down there. Sorry.
Thought it was Gray T-shirt day.
All right, new business. Ordinance number 2025-04, which is the ordinance amending the ordinance 2023-05, which is as we discussed, the rate and charges for the use and services rendered by the waterworks system of the city of Union City. So do you guys, as a council now, have discussion, questions, comments?
So Mayor, just
Yes, please, Mark.
procedurally, we did introduce this last month, but it has since been amended. So you do need a motion to accept the amended version for consideration, and then we can consider that for adoption.
Is it the amended version that's in the packet?
Yes.
It should
Yep.
even say amended in parentheses right below the title, if you're looking at the right version.
So if they were to proceed, they would need two different motions.
Correct.
Okay.
To make the deadline for that grant.
The amendment was to reduce the rates from what was introduced.
Which means that we're raising them less
Correct.
originally planned.
Yes.
So there's a little positive thing there. I'm not seeing it marked as amended.
It should show directly underneath the.
Under the title.
It's under the title, yeah.
An ordinance amending. But wait a minute, that amends the 2023 of, oh, I see what you're saying. Okay. I think, even though it's painful and that there's hopefully a temporary raise, that we have sufficiently explained, and so I am going to move.
And it's gonna be 64 cents about a day, right? Is that what this ordinance is about?
Yes.
Yeah, correct.
So I'm going to move that we approve ordinance 2025. I'm going to accept
Motion
the
needs to be to accept
Accept
the
the
amended.
amended version of ordinance number 2025-04.
So we have a first on the floor. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Amy, if you would, roll call vote.
Gary Elliott,
Yes.
Bob Leahy.
Yes.
Jason Brewer.
Yes.
Tim Heiss.
Yes.
Peter Frias.
Yes.
Now you can take a motion to adopt the ordinance as amended.
So we would hereby open the floor for a motion
Is it-
for the adoption of the amended version that you just.
Is that a suspension of the rule?
No.
No.
Now you just accept it. We voted to actually do the amendment. Now
Okay.
it's now to introduce the amendment.
Yeah, because previous council meeting, this is of a different nature. When we vote on something like we're ordering equipment or making a motion, if you want to amend the language, a lot of times we'll just have I propose we amend this, and you make it as part of the motion.
Yeah.
This, we had to do an amendment first, and then.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll move we accept ordinance 2025-04 as amended by title only.
We have a first. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Amy, if you would, roll call vote. Thank you.
Gary Elliott,
Yes.
Bob Leahy.
Yes.
Jason Brewer.
Yes.
Tim Heiss.
Yes.
Peter Frias.
Yes.
Right. Interlocal cooperation agreements between surrounding communities. This is for farmland, Parker City, Ridgeville, and Winchester. And this is for the hearing and disposal of town and city ordinance violations in the Union City Court. So this is for Judge Wilcox to be able to conduct these hearings and regarding these various violations that are processed through the Union City Court. You should have those agreements in hand. Do you have any questions or comments? And if not, I would entertain a motion.
These are towns that were already working with your court. The judge just pointed out that we didn't have up-to-date interlocals, so I sent them out to all these communities at the end of last year, and they are starting to come back.
Is this the complete list of or is there more to come?
I believe there are still 3 communities we're waiting on.
Okay. I'll move we accept the interlocal cooperation agreements between surrounding communities, farmland, Parker City, Ridgeville, and Winchester for the hearing and disposal of town city ordinance violations for the Union City Court.
We have a first on the floor. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Tito by here. Amy, if you would, roll call vote.
Gary Elliott.
Yes.
Bob Leahy.
Yes.
Jason Brewer.
Yes.
Tim Heiss.
Yes.
Peter Frias.
Yes.
All right. And now, next item is the review of the Union City boundary parcel information regarding the annexation process. Do you guys have any comments or questions on all the parcels listed there? And Amy, Mara, we've talked about the communication, and part of this process is letters will go out to each of these property owners, correct?
Correct, to see if they consent to a 100% voluntary annexation.
Right.
And we have
So-
a call tomorrow with Finance Council to discuss.
Yes. Yes. Thank
An
you.
important part of that is that you have to analyze the financial impact. So
Right.
we'll get that underway as well.
Correct. Very good. So any questions or thoughts other than a consensus to continue to move forward? I know you guys had made that motion, I believe, the last meeting, correct? So just want to make sure there's nothing on there that catches anybody's attention, just make sure we're good to continue forward.
So this is what my shout out was about, right? You know, a sort of pleasure that citizen concern was raised. Rumor had been floating around. We're going to fix whatever's causing the doubts and set things straight. So I'm good.
What's that?
So I'm good with it.
Okay. Or consensus?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. And then lastly, the completed 23-400-215-1, which is the Union City Amendment 2 for signature approval. And that had to do with the reduction, actually. The original cost estimate was actually $250,000 for the waterworks project. RQAW actually trimmed another $250,000 off of the project. And so this is that's more than what the fee was originally. So this is to grant Steve the signing approval. Is it not, Amy?
Yeah.
That's correct.
Correct. For that amendment. So I would entertain any questions or comments, and if not, I would also entertain a motion.
Yeah, I think that's just a comment in that when we approved that financing for that, there was discussion about that this was basically a high figure that can reduce
Right.
and likely to, but no, don't have a real idea, but you need to cover it for any
Right.
contingencies.
Can we remind the public what we're funding?
It's the wastewater project.
The water
Or the water project, sorry, water project.
It's the-
Thank you.
The engineering and preliminary, well,
Yeah, so I'm guessing it's RQAW's cost
Yeah.
for
Yeah, it's
the
construction.
design and engineering.
Line item number 8, construction administrative services. And it goes through the draft there that they've got in the packet.
And so these expenditures have all already been sort of voted on and approved and everything, and it's just a matter of allowing Steve or enabling or to authorizing him to go ahead and engage.
The authority to sign the amendment. Yeah.
amendment.
To get the $250,000 less in cost.
Yeah.
Don't you want to give him the authority to reduce our costs?
In the rare case, spending less money.
So I move. What, do I have to move on something? I want to move on that one. I move that we approve.
I would, but they won't let me.
I move that we approve the amendment needs to be approved. So to allow Steve to sign the amendment to approve the reductions.
We have a first. Do we have a second?
Second.
Amy, once again, roll call vote, please.
Gary Elliott?
Yes.
Bob Lightning?
Yes.
Jason Burrows?
Yes.
Ken Hines?
Yes.
Peter Frias?
Yes.
All right. Any visitors wishing to address the board, please stand, state your name, address, and nature of business.
I'm Amy, and you already know me. I'm from North Howard Street. The tax thing, you said that you rumored, Steve is on that list 2 times because he has 2 plots. It wasn't a rumor, he wasn't paying taxes on that. You signed a quitclaim deed to me December 11th, 2023. I have a tort claim and now against that property because you all don't know it, but he signed over that land to me. He signed all that land over to me that has to do with that alley. It's not funny. I don't find it funny. My son was almost hit. Then Gary comes down. It's my turn to talk.
Mm-hmm.
Gary comes down, rips down my barrier that was protecting my son. Just out of nowhere because Ader decided to send me an email and threaten me and tell me to tear down a barrier I never even put up. He threatened to
comment on that while you're
file charges, whatever. You, Mara, sent me an email 6/24. That was last year, telling me a survey was underway. This was going to get handled. That was June of last year. Nothing. Nothing from none of you. I want to know where this is at. He has no claim on that alley whatsoever. I've been told by multiple attorneys it's not. I was told I'm not allowed to talk to, or no, actually, let me rephrase that. Gary told me nastily on the phone that he was told by Steve and Mara he was no longer allowed to deal with me in my
That's
district.
two things you've said wrong now.
No, it's not, and I recorded
Okay.
our phone call. You
I've got
said
a
you are
recording
not
of it
allowed
too,
to,
actually.
you're
I
not
do have
allowed
that.
to speak to me about my issue, and you are my district representative.
I did say that.
Yes,
But
you
I
did.
do. I also have a recording of that phone call too.
Good, I'm glad you do. Please
But
play
I told
it.
you that we received an email from Amy
Yeah,
that
Amy.
we were not
She's
allowed to talk to you because you had threatened a lawsuit to the city.
But I did not. I was told by Steve to sue the city. I was told to sue the city if I wasn't happy with what was being done. And that's exactly what I said. I said, if I don't hear back, I'm going to have to file suit. Where's the response from June of last year? This was just a couple months ago. So where's the response, Mara? That's who I was supposed to be dealing with. Our city attorney, because Chad Spence sent me an email, or sent me a text saying, Amy, I'm sorry, I had to hand this off basically to the attorney. You need to deal with the attorney. That's where that's gotten me, Chad.
That part is
Nowhere. Nowhere. My son almost got hit by a car from an alley you all abandoned and you didn't take care of. The last administration allowed a barrier. That barrier was put up by Phil Holmes that led 2 doors down. Gary Elliott came down and physically removed that barrier after I was threatened by Ader to remove it when it wasn't even my barrier. Now tell me how any of that is right. Tell me how you take care of the citizens.
The quitclaim deed, let's start step by step. The quitclaim deed, you told me you had an attorney that said a quitclaim deed could be signed over for that property.
Yes.
I had 3 other attorneys told me that that cannot be quitclaim deeded because it was city property. It was an alley, city alley. That's not
Frankie
even...
had it. Frankie had it and handed it back to you. You signed it after Frankie had it. So how is that true?
Because I found out after the fact that it was not even possible. It's not. We could not do that.
Frankie had it for a month. Frankie had it for a month. You signed it in December 11th. He had it since like October, November.
I'm sorry.
That's not true.
That's very true. And then I've got the attorneys I could point to that told me...
Well, now they'll probably tell you that, but where did he have it for over a month and then you signed it on December? Why would you sign it if it wasn't legal?
I signed it before I had that information.
That
And it was
makes zero sense.
No, I was going on your word. You told me your attorney said this could be quitclaim deeded, and he provided the document for me to sign.
You didn't go on my word. You said it had to go through Frankie. And Frankie had it for a month and a half.
Based on what you said, your attorney, and then yes,
He had it for a month and a half. I thought he okayed it because you signed it December 11th.
But we can't. We legally can't do that. We can't do that. So we found out after the fact.
What is the ETA on it? I got my representative that's told he can't speak to me because she fibbed and didn't say the whole sentence that I said. I said what Steve told me. Steve said, you're going to have to sue. It looked like I was because I haven't heard from her since June. So tell me what's the ETA on this? And this whole vacation bullcrap you had me sign back in March to vacate that alley, I haven't heard jack squat up here about it.
Because we have to wait on the survey. The survey was done, but somebody pulled the stakes out of the ground.
No, they didn't. No, they didn't.
Well, we have proof that they were because when we went back, they were gone.
That was my guy that did the survey. Your people have never done a survey.
No, Moten Associates have been over there. The stakes were removed.
Okay, and who would that be? The same guy that is you are saying is fighting it, and he is related to one of the cops, and that's why you guys aren't moving on it. He's related to Lance Mock. He has told every neighbor in our neighborhood that you guys will not do nothing, and you will pave all the way to his house.
That's completely false.
That's exactly what he's told every neighbor.
But then yeah.
Then why is it not moving? Why is he allowed to come down and break down a barrier that was protecting my son on his own private property? You see my son. He is disabled. He was almost hit and killed by somebody flying off that back alley. We had drug addicts behind my garage. Finally, the last administration said, put a barrier up. We did. I didn't. Phil Holmes did. But hey, it worked. And then he came down and ripped it down, and then I've heard Jack from the attorney you told me to talk to. So then I get a hold of him, and then I get a hold of her. And Steve, he does nothing. So tell me what I'm supposed to do.
We're waiting on Moten Associates for the additional survey, And I know I
And
was.
you're gonna charge Mark Moat for it, because if he's the one ripping out he ripped out my stakes. He ripped out my stakes because you've seen it.
Mark Moat ripped out the stake.
He ripped out my stakes from when the survey was done when Phil did it.
Well, I can't speak for that going on because
No, because he's a cop's uncle. We wouldn't want to do that.
Can I ask a question?
That's not okay.
Why, if the barrier was okay before?
Exactly.
Is that what you want?
Yeah,
Why
it
can't
was
you just
okay.
give her the barrier back?
because it restricted access to the guy that actually owns the property.
He doesn't own it. It's an alley.
By our own ordinance, we can't restrict access. We can't barricade an alley by our own ordinance.
He has 5 different entryways into his property, and you know it. He has a driveway
Those
into his property.
would be
back
through
there.
people's yards, though. Those other entryways.
No, and he's fine with Ed wants it shut down too. He's the one that put the sign up. Eventually, after he went in there and ripped it down.
Well, I need to speak for Gary. I know Gary's heart. Gary would not maliciously or with
I
any.
thought I knew Gary's heart too because he used to nanny my daughter for years. So I thought I knew Gary.
He is that same person.
I don't believe that.
Well, that's your opinion.
It is my opinion. It is definitely my opinion.
But
It's
you-
my opinion of each and every one of you. And I thought I knew you too. And you gave your word to plant some trees back there and block that off.
And you told me
it's
to
still-
wait until the alley's vacated.
No, I did. But where's that went?
I've got
I
that-
signed that paperwork back in March of
I've
last
got this
year.
on a text, and you told me to wait.
And it was signed back in March of last year. Where
It
is
was
that paperwork?
incomplete. The petition has to come with a survey. You didn't want to pay for the survey. The city agreed to step in and cover the cost
I didn't want to pay for it. It was
They ordered
offered.
the survey, let me finish, and it hasn't come in yet. So the petition to vacate the alley is not in front of the council yet because it is not complete.
But that's a lie. They offered that. He offered it. I've got it in text. I've got it in email. He offered it multiple
But
times
we're-
to get that survey.
And we're waiting on the new survey.
I don't believe anybody was out there. I'm home daily. I work from home. I'm home daily. There was nobody. I have cameras everywhere. It alerts me when anybody's on my property or close to my property. No way was there a survey done. I'd like to see proof that there was a survey done.
I had another question. How long does it take to get somebody in there to get the survey done?
Surveys can be a pain in the butt.
Are very backed
Yeah.
up on every project.
For 3 years?
But
It is
not for 3
very
years, because
difficult
it's been
to get a
done
survey
previously.
on any
Backed up.
project. I can't speak to that company in particular as to what their delay is. They
I
have
know
not
them
given us a
personally,
survey.
so I don't believe.
Well, how long has it been since they've been asked to do the survey?
They were asked again literally a month ago.
Okay, but what about before that?
It would have been a year and a half ago.
And
Yeah, it was
I got
May or
another question.
June when we originally ordered it.
I had a question. If the boundary, I still say, if the boundary was up there before and it didn't bother
And
anybody,
it was up for over 5 years.
why can't you put it up now?
It did bother.
Until the access.
It didn't
and
bother.
start
It was the
survey.
guy that owned the property.
That he was the one that raised the stink, and we were violating our own ordinance. See, we're damned if we do, damned if we don't. We either violate our own ordinance, and everybody in town talks about how we don't follow our own ordinances, or we upset an individual because the process has not been completed
A
yet.
child was almost hit and killed. You didn't
I don't
upset an
condone. I
individual.
don't condone that at all. But I promise that's not right. But that is also on the individual that was driving recklessly. That could happen in the alley. That could happen right in front of our house. That is on that
I'm not going to
person.
be gaslit. You already gaslit everybody else in here over the water thing. I'm not going to be gaslit. My kid was almost hit. There was a barrier
I'm
up
not
for over 5
condoning
years.
that.
It should have never been removed by a council member after I was threatened by a police officer to rip it down. And I have that email too. Do you know how disgraceful Union City looks by all of that?
That was not a threat. I have a copy of that letter too.
Yeah, it wasn't a threat. I will file charges on you if you do not rip that barrier down. That's what it says. Tell me it doesn't.
He had to state what the law says.
He went by the law.
It was there for 5 years. The law is it stays. It's a permanent fixture after 4.
Well, that's
We know that. And if she don't know it, then maybe she should talk to Carnes and Muncie. Do you know that? That if the barrier's up over 4 years, it should have stayed? It was 5.
she ain't gonna say nothing.
She ain't gonna say jack because she knows she's in the wrong. She knows every one of you in the wrong. It should have been taken care of a long time ago. And everybody knows it. All my neighbors know it. The only neighbor that's fighting is related to a cop. And he moved in, 2 years ago? He wasn't the one that put that barrier up, and it was okay. And I want it taken care of. I want an ETA. I don't want this bull crap that there was a survey done, because I know Moods and Associates. There's no way that I didn't see someone putting stakes down.
All right. Anybody else wishing to address council? Pat?
You guys done?
Yeah.
Are you done here?
I'm done.
Okay, my name is John Patrick Grantman Russ. And I want to know, out here where Governor Graves, them houses are being built, who put the street in? Is that the contractor that is...
I can't remember the contractor that did that, but yeah, it was a
They
construction
didn't
firm.
finish it.
Yeah, because they're waiting until the homes are finished. Because of the equipment that would be going in now.
Oh,
that
so they
didn't-
are going to put the top coat.
Correct. They didn't want to tear up the top coat as
Okay,
they
you're doing
do
good.
construction.
The other question I got is these street signs. They still ain't been changed.
It's a slow progress. We're actually
Why is
getting
that?
we're getting labels printed by Apache. They're actually making
I
the
seen
labels.
that
for
on
us.
TV 6 months ago.
There's some that are changed, or some that are new, and
Yeah, the one out there by 28 on Plum is changed, but we've got a long way to go.
yeah.
So what color are they now?
They're much more legible. They're blue with a red outline, and the lettering is white.
You guys.
So you can see them better.
Oh, come on. You can't see them.
No, they're actually. I was
At night?
Yeah, I struggled with the other signs myself, and these are very visible.
Yeah.
I want you to show them to me.
Okay.
Well, it didn't take you that long to get the other ones down, them things up that you can't see. I don't see why it's taking so long now.
Well, because we're having labels made, we're doing it a little bit. We're tying in Apache to help us.
But they are much more. They are better, and I think actually, and like I say, I was a critic of it in
Yeah.
terms of being able to see it.
Yeah, ditto.
And I think they're even more visible
He's
than the green
exactly
ones.
right. It ain't as good as the green ones, I can tell you that. You can see them.
You could have went back up and put the green
Only
ones back
thing,
up
the
there.
only reason why they're red and blue is because somebody stuck on Union City Community Indians. That's what happened. I know what happened.
Are you done?
No, I'm not done. You're a policeman?
I am.
Down here by the gateway, where the gateway used to be, the two girls broke, or whatever you call it.
Broke girls.
Did you guys catch up whoever painted them overhead doors?
No, I don't think so, no.
Don't they have cameras somewhere?
Well, that's private property. So
Don't you have a camera or something?
I don't outside, no. We're hoping, I don't know if Blake has looked at them yet, but there's on the antique store, right
Yeah,
next
I
to the
know the
empty
police
lot.
went in there and put.
There's a camera up on that, and it will reach all the way down to the Artisan Park, so it would definitely see that.
Yeah.
But we're not sure if the trees are blocking it.
Oh.
So Blake Clevenger from the school was supposed to, who was it? Was talking. He was going to ask. Oh, Steve. We were out there at the opening for the new restaurant. Said he was going to talk to Blake and see if Blake could see the footage and see if it would see that. And I don't know if that probably hasn't happened yet.
Is somebody going to paint that or what? It looks like SHIT when you drive through town and
it's
see
been
that.
covered up, has it not?
Yeah, they painted it white.
Sort of
They didn't do a very good job. And the
They
guy
must have did it recently.
Yeah, the guy that owns the building is in England at the moment, and so I texted him and let him know. So he called somebody and had them paint it, but he asked how it looked, and I said, well, they didn't do very. Some of it was still exposed, so he was going to call them and have them come back and do a better job. But so yes, it's in. They did paint over it. It's in.
Well, when I saw it, it was red paint, but
Yeah,
I'll believe you.
it was Friday. They did it Friday because they wanted to have it done for the
I was gonna
Saturday. thing.
The other thing I got is this low-income grant. What's it consist of? What can you get repaired if you're low income?
It's roof, heating and air, and
Accessibility.
yeah, accessibility. Thank you.
And what?
Accessibility. So it's
Not windows or anything.
not windows, unfortunately. I wish it were.
So it is for furnaces then?
Correct. Correct.
So if I got a furnace that's a 1950, there's a good chance that I might be able to get something done through this grant?
If you're qualified, correct. Yes. Yep.
Okay, and if that grant passed,
Well, it's a first come first served basis, which was stated when we advertised it. So if everybody that's applied qualifies, which they should based on, I mean, they're qualifying based on needs. So assuming they've submitted the right things to be funded, heating, air vac, or HVAC, then it's all depends on how much money is spent in those projects before it gets down, exhausts the list. So we've encouraged people continue to apply. So if you,
So it's not, is there a deadline?
there's not so much a deadline as it's a continuous thing, because we're going to try to apply down the road again, and so having a list of folks that maybe didn't get funded the first time will be valuable because they get funded the next go
And
around.
where do we get this form or whatever?
Just come up front here to the city building.
City building?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's all.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I was gonna say there's-
problems?
Hold that thought.
Yes, there's expectation that this would be an
ongoing.
ongoing process.
Anybody else?
I do
Ma-
whenever the
Oh.
citizens are done.
Okay. Go ahead, Mara.
Okay. You guys will remember back in August, September when we started the bond process, you asked for a timeline because you wanted to be able to follow along. So I just wanted you to know that timeline is going to be changing slightly. So when I get the new version, I will send it to you. Originally tonight, you were going to consider both the rate ordinance and the bond ordinance, restating the one you passed last fall because of some changes with bond council and needing to get SRF to sign off on that new form. It wasn't ready. So you may have already mentioned we need to look at special meeting dates because of all these deadlines coming up. So that bond ordinance will be in front of you at that special meeting later this month.
Thank you.
And that's what Adam had mentioned when we had the call last Thursday afternoon with you,
Yes.
you
Yes.
and Amy.
Yep.
Because there's not a meeting on Memorial Day, and
Yeah.
I think the next council meeting wasn't until June 9th. So that's why you were going to look at dates for a special meeting.
Yeah. So May 22nd. Would that be a possibility for you guys?
What day of the week is it?
That's a Thursday.
6 p.m.
Yeah, it'd be same time, same place.
22nd, 27th, 6 p.m.
That's this next.
27th.
That's this coming Thursday?
No.
Next Thursday.
Oh, it's Thursday after, yes.
Can't-
That would
I
be
can't do it. I have a pretty good engagement for that.
I think Adam said you needed a majority of the council, so
We
four
need
of
at least
five.
three, preferably 5 if we could, but at least 3. We need
Try to
4.
squeeze it in.
What's that?
I said I'll try to squeeze it in.
Okay. You're big?
With me.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay. All right. Well, that will be tentative. Then we'll shoot for that. The day of the next economic redevelopment meeting is Wednesday, May 21st at 6. And then there'll be a first June council meeting is June 9th at 6, and first public works meeting in June is June 9th at 1:45. I would hereby entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
We have a first, we have a second.
I'll second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.
Go ahead.
Yes.